So as I mentioned, it's very exciting to be able to, Baruch Hashem, go back to shul. Such a privilege. There have been a lot of ups and downs, and I'd like to go through the parsha. And as I was going through the parsha, it occurred to me how so many of the feelings that we have been feeling, are feeling, and thoughts and sensitivities, how much really comes up in this week's parsha. So I wanted to share with you some of those ideas through the parsha. We begin the parsha here. Parshas Baloscha, that's already a chiddush. It's already a Dvar Torah. What parsha is it? Unfortunately, we don't get to hear it in shul. So hopefully everyone is trying to keep up with the parsha on some level and continue. So Parshas Baloscha speaks about the menorah. So it says in the pasuk here that the menorah, of course, in the Beis Hamikdash was not like the Hanukkah menorah. The Hanukkah menorah has 8 branches because the 8 nights of miracle, but that's not what was in the Beis Hamikdash. It was 7 branches, 3 and 3, and 1 in the center. And it was made miksha zohav. It was made out of 1 piece of gold. So the pasuk here talks about how these lights are facing towards the middle, and when they are el mul pnei ha-menorah ya'iru shivas haneros, the Seforno discusses here that there are different types of Jews. You have, on the right side of the menorah, the left side of the menorah, and there are different kinds of Jews. There are Jews that are all connected, but some are connecting directly through the Torah study, and they're spending, a greater portion of their day with the learning. But then you have other Jews which are also very, very connected. They're working, but they're also connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they're supporting, and they're giving of their time and their efforts. And when they are all facing the middle one, so then it will be that it's the Ya'iru Shivas Haneros. That's when they all truly illuminate, and that is when the true illumination of the menorah takes place. Is when everyone is on the same page and everyone is working together. And it occurred to me how appropriate this is as we're coming back together. A shul is comprised of all different kinds of people and all different kinds of parts, and everyone tries to contribute in their own way. Some people are able to come to minyan, some people are not able to, and some people are able to donate money, and some people are able to donate time, and some have one type of expertise, another kind of expertise. Everyone counts and everyone makes a big difference. What's important is that everyone is directed towards one common goal, towards that center light. That center light, recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is at the forefront of it all, and it's all about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not about me. And when we realize that, so that is what makes it that it will be Ya'iru Shivas Haneros, that the candles, the lights, will give a true illumination. The halacha of the lighting of the candle is also the ha'aloscha es haneros, that when the kohen is to light the menorah, so the flame has to be until he has to light it until the point where the flame will go up on its own. It will now be self-sufficient. He doesn't need to tend to it anymore. Perhaps we may say along the lines that we are saying, if you want a true light to continue and to be self-standing and continuing to burn, so then we need all of the different branches all facing towards that central branch, all the different types of people working together with a common goal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that will create a flame which will have its own strength to continue to illuminate and bring warmth to the world. It occurred to me as I'm going through this with the menorah, and we speak about this illumination. What was this menorah made out of? It was made out of mikshe zahav. It was made out of a piece of gold, a solid piece of gold that was beaten, hammered, and then formed into the beautiful menorah with all of its intricacies. The beauty of the menorah, you have one piece, and it gets beaten, and it gets formed, and this is what produces its beauty. Klal Yisrael also, as one whole, as one unit. There are times throughout history where we get beaten up. But our true beauty is when, sometimes we do get hammered a little here and a little there and a lot here and a lot there. But ultimately, it's the hammering. It's that hammering which we may not like and isn't comfortable when you're hammering, but that hammering helps to form the beauty of the menorah. It gives it a form. When we just go freestyle, we're all one big, a glob of gold. It's wonderful to be gold, but it's still a glob. It needs to be formed. And it needs to take on, intricacies of decoration through hammering. And these experiences, while they may be difficult, we should always try our best to emerge in a positive way, stronger than we were before, and recognize that this gives us form. The form in which the menorah takes is, it needs to be Kimara Asher Hero Hashem Es Moshe. The form of the menorah was exact. You couldn't go freestyle, I want to bang it out like this. Hashem showed Moshe an image, a very clear picture of exactly how the image of that menorah is to be. We too, we get hammered, but we still try to mold ourselves in certain directions. We have to always remember Hashem is forming us, and Hashem is guiding us, and Hashem is trying to put us in a certain spot and give us a certain beauty. And if we accept it and we recognize it as forming us, and we emerge stronger and more beautiful, so then it will be a very positive experience. So this is certainly one sentiment as we're all coming together, all different kinds of people coming together once again in the shul after having such an experience of getting hammered out, but we recognize that it has given us form and hopefully and undoubtedly has made us stronger. And many have grown in all different kinds of ways. Many have grown with davening, as ironic and wild as that sound. What do you mean? I haven't been at Minyan, So, some people have found it to be an experience. Now I don't have to rush things. I can say every word slowly and carefully, and I can think about what I'm saying. I don't have, the same time constraints. I don't have the same social pressures of people watching me. It's just me and God, a very personal experience. Either you're connected or you're not. So it for many has been an experience to grow, and as one may have hopefully become more disciplined through this, without some of the external helpings around us to keep us on track. It had to come from us, and if one has been working on this, so one has become stronger. The fish is stronger when it swims upstream, and many certainly have emerged much stronger from this. Unfortunately, throughout this pandemic, we may not forget that unfortunately, literally thousands of Yidden have been lost. Literally, there are thousands of Yidden which have passed away, leaving almanos and yesomim, widows and orphans. And while everyone might be feeling like, hey, the sun is out and things are easing up, and let's get back out there. But for many, it may be very difficult to move on. We're very grateful for our health, that we're here talk with each other. This is something that we must have great appreciation for, and we must recognize the value of every single Jew. And this too, we learn in the parsha. We find here that the Bechoros, the firstborn, were the ones that were going to do the avodah, the service in the Beis HaMikdash. They were the ones by, shall we say, original design to be the ones to do the avodah, the service. But they made a mistake and they failed and they stumbled with the Ched HaEgel. And so the Leviim were now chosen. They remained pure and pristine and loyal to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they did not succumb to this pressure of the Ched HaEgel. So now the Leviim are being chosen. And we find something very interesting. They are the ones chosen, and they're going to be carrying certain holy items. And this is going to present a structure, a very important structure. The Kohanim have their job, the Leviim have their job. And this is to prevent also the Yisraelim from getting too close, going to places that they may not, that is not appropriate for them. Everyone has their own job. The Leviim are cautioned to make sure to protect those boundaries, making sure that the Kohanim and non-Leviim are not going, the Yisraelim should not be going to places where they're not supposed to go. They need to keep their social distance, and they can't get too close to certain holy areas. Some, the Kohanim, so they put on their big day kahuna, that's their hazmat, and they can enter into holy places. The Kohen Gadol has, extra, protective gear going in with the big day kahuna of the Kohen Gadol into the Kodesh HaKodashim once a year, seriously protected with all of these begadim. That's like, hazmat plus, so that's, everyone has their role. And the Leviim have to make sure that they protect this space. Otherwise, Jews are going to die. If the Jews get too close, they're going to die. You can't go where you're not supposed to go. And everyone had to have their space and their distance. And, we know Jews don't like being told where not to go, or where to go. Don't tell me what to do. Every human being feels like that. And we know as Jews, it's perhaps even more sensitive, like, don't tell me what to do. And the Jews were being told, look, you could go here, you can't go there. And the Leviim had this role of being like the Corona Gabbai, who had to maintain proper order. You go here, you don't go here. And there it says that the Leviim are protecting the Jews, and it says the word B'nai Yisrael, the Jews who are protected by these Leviim here, maintaining this order. So it says B'nai Yisrael 5 times. And Rashi says it teaches us the love that Hashem has for Klal Yisrael, who are compared to the Chamishei Chumshei Torah, to the five books. So 5 times it says B'nai Yisrael in the pasuk. What this means is, number one, so the Maharal explains, the Leviim need to understand the value of every single Jew. And every single Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah. We know the Gemara says, this is what's happening, the 5 times B'nai Yisrael to the 5 Chumashim. Every Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah. The Gemara says that if someone should be by the passing of another Jew, and he's there when the neshama leaves and this person passes away, so he's supposed to tear his garment, right? Kriya, tear his garment. We don't do that today for various reasons. One reason that is explained is because there's a halacha, you are supposed to be there with the person who's sick and dying, and you should not leave. And we're concerned if people are going to have to tear their garments, people might, chas v'shalom, leave this person out of concern for their own garment, and we would never want that. So there is a minhag that today we don't keep that. But the Gemara says that when a Jew passes, one would have to tear one's garment, just like if one would witness a Sefer Torah being burnt, there would be an obligation to tear your garment in mourning. So a Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah. Now, what kind of a Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah? So you'll say a Talmud Chacham, like the Gemara in Makos says that the the Gemara talks about how people didn't understand the value of a Talmud Chacham, and they stand up for a Sefer Torah, and they don't stand up for the Talmud Chacham. How can it be? The Talmud Chacham is the embodiment of the Torah. He's Torah in this world. He's the ambassador. He's the one who's going through the struggle and applying Torah to his life and making this world a better place. You have to stand up for the Talmud Chacham like you have to stand up for the Sefer Torah. So we see a Talmud Chacham as compared to the Sefer Torah, but that's not all. Listen to this. Rashi, it's not found in our Rashi in the Gemara there, but it's in the Rif. And there's a version of Rashi that says that every single Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah. Why? Because he's Yochol Lilmod, because he's able to learn, not because he has learned. Even if he hasn't learned, and he hasn't learned what he should have learned, but his potential, the potential of every Jew, is the value of a Sefer Torah. And the Maharal says, as each Jew is compared to the Chamishe Chumshei Torah, the 5 books, so actually it goes deeper, that every Jew has a neshama which is broken up into 5 different components, just like a Sefer Torah has 5 different components, 5 different chumashim. So there's an astounding comparison to a Jew to a Sefer Torah. And we understand the value of a Sefer Torah. We need to understand the value of a Jew. And in the context of the parsha, the Levian have to be so careful to make sure that every Jew maintains his proper place, his social distance, because we don't want to lose anyone. We want to make sure that every Jew remains. Every Jew's health is of paramount importance. So this is certainly another sentiment that we can learn from the parsha. Another thought that we may learn from the parsha with the feelings that we are experiencing. We've had we've had many journeys, many travels throughout this, very unusual times. We talk about the travelings of Bnei Yisrael, and sometimes the pasuk says we had to stop for a month, a day, a night. We had no idea. Imagine what that's like. You got a bunch of kids, and you know what it's like, packing up every single time. And, for me, it's my family. It's like, it's a family trip just to get to the car, like if I had to pack up everything every time, I go out of my mind, pack up lunches, forget it, snacks. We're going on a road trip, everyone. Here we go. A couple million people. Here we go. So not an easy feat. But everywhere we traveled was Al Pi Hashem. It was all by Hashem. All by Hashem. Hashem says, go, you go. What do you mean? But it's more comfortable for me here. Hashem, I'm in the middle of a Gemara over here, like I'm in the middle of the daf. I'm in the middle of a parsha shir. No, go. You got to go right now. What do you mean I could learn better right now? Go right now. What we want and what we think is the right thing to do doesn't matter. It's what Hashem says is the right thing to do. Hashem says, go, you go. There's a time where Hashem wants you to learn, and there's a time where he says, pick up in the middle of the Tosos, pick up in the middle of the Gemara, in the middle of the Parsha Shir. And I said, go, and it's time to move. The right thing in the right time, whatever Hashem says, wherever he tells us to go. Is it what I would have planned? Is it what I would have designed? Is it what I think is the most spiritually uplifting? Not necessarily, but it's what Hashem wants from me. And so we've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of travels over here. Go to shul, don't go to shul, it's a lot. There's been a lot. Pesach, Shavuos, what's going to be? So we always have to remember that however we go in life, it has to always be Al Pi Hashem, what Hashem wants. And we're always being taken places. We think we're in the driver's seat. We're not in the driver's seat. We're lucky to be able to observe and see HaKadosh Baruch Hu as the driver. It's a privilege. And we should recognize that. And it's not easy because we get used to things and we become trained from our youth that this is how we are to connect to Hashem. This is how, this is the right way to go, but there's a right way at the right time. There's a time to keep Shabbos and there's a time to be Machalo Shabbos because there's a life at stake and we don't hesitate. So we've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of travels. So we have to remember it's always Al Pi Hashem, But when it is al pi Hashem, when we're going by the word of Hashem and we're following, there's tremendous protection. We had 7 clouds, 4 on each side, 1 on top of us, 1 underneath us, 1 going in front of us, leveling on all the mountains, destroying and killing all of the snakes and scorpions, keeping us safe and healthy. We also read in the parsha the famous Vayehi ben Soa, which we usually sing, which unfortunately now in shul trying to minimize things, we're going to be cutting down on the singing a little bit, and we will not be singing this. We'll be saying it, and we should keep this in mind. What does it mean? Maybe sometimes when we change our habit, it gives us pause. So we used to sing it, so we're not going to sing it. So let's talk about what it means. Well, Vayehi ben Soa, ha'aron, it's talking about when we were traveling, and the Aron would travel ahead of us 3 days journey to make our journey safe and to make our encampment a smooth travel. We'll be able to come and arrive safely and peacefully. The Aron was going ahead of us. And we were carrying the Aron, and we traveled. No. The Aron carried us. The Aron carried the people. It looked like we were carrying it. There's a great lesson. We as Jews throughout history have gone through so much. We've had so many travels throughout time. We have to always remember that, sometimes we have the privilege of being at home in Eretz Yisrael with a Beis Hamikdash, and for many years and many times we do not. And sometimes we have peace and tranquility, and sometimes we're on the run, and sometimes we're under pandemic, and we're not in charge, and we're not in control. But we have to always remember, it is the Aron, it is the Torah that goes before us. It is the Aron, it is the Torah that must be guiding us. It must be paving our path. And we must never think that we are carrying the Aron. We're not doing anything over here. The Aron is carrying us. I mean this in 2 ways. First of all, we need to follow what the Torah has to say, what we should be doing. We should never be trying to guide the Torah. The Torah guides us. The Torah carries us. We don't carry the Torah. And the Torah guides us. Sometimes people try to form their opinions and misconstrue concepts in Torah. It's very important to always take a step back. What does Hashem want from me? What is the Torah telling me? Not, always thinking about what I think is right and what I think I can handle and how I see things. We have to take a step back. Let's see the perfect picture. What is God telling us to do? And let's adapt ourselves to the Torah, not try to adapt the Torah to us. So Vayehi ben Soa ha'aron. So when the Aron travels, we remember, we go through a lot of travels in history, in Jewish history, and right now as well, very unusual times, but the Aron must always be going ahead of us. We must always be looking towards the guidance, see, what does the Torah have to say over here? And the Torah has something to say about everything, no matter what it is. If you know how to read the Torah, you can understand what it has to say about coronavirus, even though you may not find the words coronavirus in the Torah, but you'll understand those principles. And that's why we have Gedolim guiding us and leading us, those immersing themselves in Torah, understanding what the Torah has to say. And when it is Vayehi ben Soa ha'aron, when the Torah is guiding us and we have the proper hashkafa, the proper perspective, the proper attitude, so we must understand then that it comes along with a tremendous gift, because then Hashem takes care of all of our enemies. Hashem will get rid of all of our enemies. We think our enemies is all the anti-Semitism around us. They're an enemy. Well, right now, this virus is also an enemy. It has and continues to be killing people. Of course, right now it's mitigated severely. And that's why we're going back into shul. But we still have to go with caution. But we have to remember that the Torah provides tremendous protection. But we have to allow the Torah to go before us and not allow ourselves to be trying to lead and trying to form the values of the Torah, but rather let the values of the Torah form us. We have also a greater appreciation for so many things at this time. Having been without something, unfortunately, all too often, once something is gone, that's when we appreciate it. Unfortunately, when people pass away, unfortunately, when something is taken away, these are times when we grow in our appreciation. We should always appreciate things while we have it. So now we're getting a taste of this back. We should appreciate it, and the way we appreciate something is using it. There are when a sefer falls on the ground. So there are two things that actually can be done, stated in halacha. One is more common than the other. One is you give it a kiss. It fell. We want to show respect. We want to show our love for it. We feel bad that it was disrespected. It was shame that it fell to the ground, even if it was an accident. But that's not where the sefer belongs. We give it a kiss. What a beautiful thing. There's an even greater honor. You know what you could do? You can use it. Use that siddur. Use that chumash that fell. That's the greatest honor and appreciation that you can show for it, is when you use it. Don't just give it a kiss. You don't just give someone a kiss. You have a relationship. It has to be something real. It has to be something real. Something that you're living together with, a person you're living together with, you have a real relationship with. That is how the Torah has to be with us. We gain appreciation for things now. It's important for us to reflect. We look at the parsha, we find complaints about things that how could you complain about? You're being protected in the midbar. You have the mun. It tastes like whatever you want. Unbelievable. And they're complaining about the mun. It's like saying, the cake is too sweet. Really? The chocolate is too chocolatey? Can it be? Is it possible? Can you complain about the cake? Can you complain about the chocolate? Really? It's delicious. What's the problem? I gave you everything. I gave you the mun, and you're complaining. The answer is yes. People can complain about anything. But as we're in this phase, we need to think back. Was anything ever worth complaining about? Was it ever worth complaining about, who got this aliyah, that aliyah, this one said this to me, this one didn't do it the way I like because my ego got hurt? Really? It's a time for us to appreciate shul, appreciate people. Was it ever worth it? Any of it, is it ever worth it? We have to take pause. And as we're getting it back, if we want to maintain it, the more we appreciate it and the more we appreciate each other, the more we'll be able, Hashem will give us that gift to stay in shul and to stay with each other. And sometimes we don't see that picture so quickly. At the end of the parsha, there's something very interesting. We find that Miriam and Aaron are talking against Moshe. How Moshe had separated from his wife, and they made a grave error. They applied their own personal status to Moshe, thinking they're on the same level and they can talk the same way about Moshe. I'm a Navi, he's a Navi. Like, Moshe was in a whole different category, and they made a failure in that judgment, in application, thinking that Moshe is just like an ordinary Navi, and Moshe was not. And Miriam was smitten with tsaras. Now, there's something amazing that happened here. So because she had tsaras and she had to stay in quarantine, familiar word these days, so the entire Bnei Yisrael stopped. Nobody's moving. Out of honor for Miriam. We're giving her honor now, says Rashi. We're giving a recognition for something she did. She waited for her baby brother Moshe when he was put into the river, and she waited for a few moments, looking, observing, like a good sister, watching what would happen to her baby brother. Why is that being mentioned now? Shemin HaTov offers a beautiful explanation. Now is the moment we have a great understanding of who Moshe is. He's no ordinary Navi. He has a higher level of nevuah like no one has or will ever have. Now we can fully appreciate what Miriam did all the way back when, looking over her baby brother, even if it was for a few moments. But look at the value. She wasn't just saving a life. She saved that Moshe Rabbeinu. Very often we don't know what we're doing when we do it. It's only after a long time that we see the whole picture. Wow, I didn't realize with that favor that I you know, that this person did for me what it meant. Now, like, wow, there's a ripple effect, and look how one thing led to another, and unbelievable. So sometimes we don't have a full appreciation until we see a bigger picture. At this juncture as well, you know, it's given us pause and taking a step back, and hopefully giving us a greater appreciation for what shul is all about, for what people are all about, giving us a much deeper appreciation for all of that. So as we wrap this up and we put it all together, so it's a tremendous opportunity. Hodu Lashem ki tov ki lo l'chasta. We thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we're able to come back into shul, even if it's not in full normal mode, but we appreciate every bit. You know, every piece of chocolate is delicious, and we appreciate it. We should appreciate each other, and we should use this as an opportunity to emerge stronger together with a greater appreciation. Where we're going to come now in just a few moments now into shul, and it should be most certainly a greater davening, a greater unity, and a greater and stronger shul. May we continue with the shul and together, all in good health and with great success. And I wish you all only the best. And I hope to see many of you in just a few moments. So thank you all for joining. We're looking forward to this moment, and I wish you all a good Shabbos as well.
Amen.
Yasher Koyach.